Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I've got a card featuring some ugly Christmas sweaters. Several years ago, Simon Says Stamp came out with the ugly sweater, stamps and coordinating dies, and then the sweater words and appliques stamp set that coordinates. So it's basically these two blank sweaters, and then you can decorate them with all of the ugly little Christmas icons that you want to, any way you want to. And then this year, a couple releases ago, they came out with the Christmas sweater background, and I thought it would be fun to combine these three products together to create an ugly Christmas sweater card. Kind of cute, very funny, and just a really unique way to send a Christmas card, I think. The ugly Christmas sweater, there's lots of parties and things, so maybe if you're invited to one, you could take this card with a little gift, a little hostess gift or something like that, or just send it to someone to put a smile on their face. I know my daughter is in high school, and the girls all think it's kind of fun to dress in ugly Christmas sweaters. It's just kind of a funny thing. They do it for fun. Like their Christmas get-together parties or whatever. Even her dance team wore them for a performance once, and it was really funny. So they're just even though this is supposed to be ugly, the card ends up being kind of cute. I am using the Misty to stamp that big Christmas sweater background. This is a cling stamp, so I took the foam insert out of my Misty. I stamped the Christmas sweater background with Versamark ink, and I'm sprinkling on white embossing powder. For backgrounds that have lots and lots going on, where there's not, excuse me, a great place to hold on to the edges of the card, I like to use some tweezers. It keeps my fingers out of the embossing powder, especially for something like this where the entire background is going to be covered, because we're going to be doing some embossed resist. The thing about this Christmas sweater background, this is going to be kind of for a fun, whimsical card. However, this can be used for elegant cards, for traditional style cards. You could do all kinds of things with this background. And I'm planning on doing some other cards here coming up soon with this background stamp. It is one of my favorites, and you can do amazing, amazing things with it. So I'm heating up my background now. You can see where the tweezers help so much in keeping fingers away from a hot heat tool. I want to make sure I get everything covered, everything melted really good. I'm going to go ahead and clean up my little embossing mess here, put down a craft mat, and I'm going to start applying Mermaid, Lagoon, and Peacock Feathers Distress inks to this. This was stamped on a regular Neenah heavyweight smooth white cardstock, embossed, and then for the embossed resist, so that pattern will show through, I'm inking over the embossed areas with these two colors of Distress inks, blending where they meet. I thought the blue would really show off the Christmas sweaters, where there's typically lots of reds and greens, which there are. I was really inspired by this blue color combination. Two of the sweaters on my card do have blue in them, which I think helps make the quote-unquote Christmas colors really pop. Once I have my Distress inks blended, I'm going to buff off excuse me, again, any additional ink that's on those embossed areas with a paper towel, take a spray tool and clean up my craft mat with a little bit of water. I'm going to take my Tonic Studios guillotine trimmer now and trim down my panel just a little bit. This is also going to get rid of any of that excess ink that pools up around the sides of the panel. It's why I chose to trim my panel down after I had already inked it. So it's going to end up being 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now here are those blank sweaters. I've already stamped them. These are from the Simon Says Stamp Ugly Sweater Stamp Set. There's a full length, like a long sleeve crew neck sweater, and then a sweater vest. First, I'm going to stamp these two sweaters. I originally thought maybe I would just do 2 sweaters, And after I got these two colored, I really decided, thought I wanted to do a couple more. They're really fun to do. You can see that they're completely blank and you can decorate them with whatever you want to decorate them with. There is a wreath, there's holly and berries, Santa that I used, the Christmas tree, candy canes, gingerbread men, stars, snowflakes, even a little ribbon that would be cute, like maybe to tie the Christmas vest together, some greetings, and then like some trim type of images in the Ugly Sweater stamp set. In the sweater words and appliques, that is where the reindeer comes from. Plus there's additional trims, which I'm going to use one of those for the Santa sweater up near the top. There's some other little images, a stocking, present, like it looks like some applique hearts, a little string of lights, and lots of greetings in this one. So they just go together hand in hand. They're really awesome. I think they're so funny. One of my favorite greetings, I didn't use it for my card here. It just kind of didn't fit with my card design, but it's probably my favorite. It's called Bringing Sexy Sweaters Back, and I think that that's kind of funny. Eat, Drink, and Be Tacky is another one. And on the inside of my card, I forgot to show it in the video, but I did stamp an additional greeting that reads, "So ugly, it's awesome." So just kind of cute and funny. I did do another trim down near the bottom edge of the reindeer Christmas sweater, and that's going to be kind of a rickrack trim, and I'm going to do 2 of those so that I can do a contrasting band of color around the bottom edge of this sweater. I am going to share the entire coloring process for all 4 sweaters because I did a lot of embellishing after the initial coloring was done. I know a lot of you enjoy that coloring process. I do as well. So I left it in, but I did speed it up a little bit just to get through the video so we weren't sitting here for an hour. The first sweater, I started with the image on the front, and that's because I want something to be contrasting around it. For example, I don't want to color the Christmas hat red and then color the sweater red. The Santa won't pop near as well. So I colored him in. I colored in his face and his hat, and then I did the trim of the sweater in red. And to really make him pop, I'm going to do my sweater in blue. And I purposely picked some Copic markers that look good with the Distress Ink colors I used for the Emboss Resist for the background. And I started pretty light. I'll work that color up a little bit deeper and darker so it really goes even better. Using 3 colors, B02, 4, and 5. This is not a color combination I use a lot, and I don't really know why because I really, really like it. I've used it a little bit here recently, but normally it's not when I reach for a ton, and I need to remember to pull it out more because I really do like that. So the sweater's really cute as it is. It really is. You could leave it just like this. But I think in order to take it up a notch and make it even tackier, there are some fun things you can do just with some regular gel pens. And if you've watched my videos, you know I love white, black, and Stardust pens, and I use them a lot. So I'm starting off with my Stardust pen, and I'm just creating a diagonal pattern so it looks like it has this kind of sparkly filament running through the sweater threads, and it's going to have a little bit of sparkle. I'll try to hold it up to the camera here when I'm done, and maybe you can see it a little bit there when I hold it at an angle. Next, I'm going to make a red and white striped, or the cuffs and the hem of the sweater as well as around the neck. Using a white pen, add detail to that little stitching stamp I used around the top edge with some white dots. Take a black pen to Santa's eyes, and there is my first tacky Christmas sweater. For the reindeer, again, color in the entire thing first, and then add some detail with your specialty pins. It really does take the sweaters up a notch and it's just such a huge difference. One thing about the reindeer sweater, I tried to use my white pin along my red border here, and you'll see that in a second, and it was not very successful. So I went, instead of recoloring the whole thing, I actually just went over it with my black pin, and I liked it a lot better. Now this sweater has the reindeer, so lots of neutrals with a red nose. Again, I didn't want to make a red sweater because I think the red nose will get lost in the sweater design. So this sweater is going to be green with red trim, and then a little red band there between the two rickrack borders. That'll help pull in some additional red color into this sweater. The greens I'm using are G17 and 28. Again, a green color combination I have not used a lot in the past. I've used it a few times recently. A lot of these markers had kind of already been out in a cup on my desk from things I've used, but I like to mention these aren't markers that I necessarily used a lot, but I can see the blue color combination and this green color combination being used more in my rotation, just because I really think that these two color combinations are very successful. I really like them. Here's that little red band around the bottom, and then I tried to go around it with my white pen, and either I didn't, the ink dries really fast because these are alcohol ink markers, but for whatever reason it picked up a lot of pink and I did not like how it looked. It's not translating as bad on camera as it looked in person. It really bothered me. So I'm going to go ahead and color in the everything else here with the reds. Get that blended really well, and I'm going to go ahead and fix this. I tried to go over it again with my white pen and it just didn't work, so I'm just going to leave it alone for a minute. Add a little plaid detail along the bottom edges of my sweater, and then I took my black pen and went over that rickrack, kind of just went over what I previously stamped, went over the eyes with a black pen, added some little black dots in there, and that looks so much better. These are my two additional sweaters. I really thought only two sweaters would fit when I first did my card, so I didn't do these right off the bat. I came back and did these after I had everything done, and I was laying everything out and it was just not working. I thought I needed more. So I went ahead and stamped two more, which I was so happy to do because these are really fun. I did the Christmas tree first, and this sweater, since the tree is going to be green, I can make this sweater red, and I think that the tree's not going to get lost in the design. And for the candy cane vest, I didn't show it in the video, but all it is stamping the vest, and then I used just a little post-it tape to mask off edges, and I repeatedly stamped that candy cane for an all-over pattern. I'd like to try that more with some of the other small images. I think the gingerbread men would be really fun. The hearts would be fun, and on either of the sweaters. But just to do a repeating pattern instead of maybe just one big pattern right on the front. Another idea is the greeting I used, I think would be super fun if you love doing the Chibi Lights light up cards. The Christmas trees, the reindeer nose, the wreath has some little balls or on it or whatever that could light up. I think these would all make fantastic light up cards. I didn't really want to. I love the light up effect, but it does make your card really, really thick. And I was going for a little bit flatter design here, but I think these would make some really fun light up style projects as well. So here is my Christmas tree. I did pull in several different colors for the ornaments on the tree, added some little white dots, again, added detail around the cuffs and hem, that crew neck around the top. We'll move right on to the candy canes, adding some red to the red portion of the candy canes. Really quick coloring here. Now this vest probably uses the least amount of colors, but I think it ended up being one of my favorites. I really like the blue and red color combination. Some warm grays for any of the white areas, and then we're going to immediately go in and color in the vest with the lightest blue color, again, BO2. Just lay down that nice base color. The contrasting stitching around the armholes and around the vest are all going to be added with the red markers, the same ones I used for the candy canes. We'll lay that color down all over. Go in with my darker reds and build up the color, which I think it's funny to look at it here when I only have that lightest blue color down. It really doesn't look that great. You have to pull in the BO5, especially in the BO4, and that really builds up the color and makes it look fantastic. One final thing that I did for the vest before I die cut it is I created some little white dots all over in the background. And this really just dresses it up, takes it from looking kind of plain Jane to really, really fun. I'm going to take the coordinating dies, tape those in place, and I did go around the edges and do my little stitching detail with the white again. Take those coordinating dies, die cut all of my sweaters. I've got a couple of them here. I've got a little scrap of black cardstock that I'm going to use to stamp a greeting from the Sweater Words and Appliques stamp set with Versamark ink. Heat emboss with white embossing powder and trim that into a thin strip. I like to heat the back of the paper and then go to the front. It will help with warping. Again, I'm going to take my tonic guillotine trimmer and trim this into a thin strip. Trim that down just a little bit. So I want to overlap my sweaters and kind of have them tilted at angles to add a little bit of interest. You could definitely do it a little different if you wanted to. So then I'm going to glue them together, just overlapping, and then take some foam adhesive squares on the back to pop these up. I love these scrapbook adhesives, thin adhesive squares, because their profile is really low, so it still makes it very easy to mail these, because while it does raise them up, it doesn't raise them so high that it's really hard to see. Now these were the two sweaters before I realized I really wanted two more. It looks very cute the way it is, so I wanted to show this, but I did pop all of this off. I moved these sweaters up. I adhered the other two sweaters along the bottom edge, and then I did use some thin foam adhesive squares on the greeting, and I added glossy accents to the nose on the reindeer and the Christmas balls and star. Thanks for joining me today for this ugly Christmas sweater card featuring Simon Says stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.